My apartment is being cleaned, so I'm standing here in the corridor and recording this curious chapter. It wants to measure happiness on campuses in the context of ecological footprint of the students and their academic performance in different courses. I'm going to include it just because it's very different, and I believe, I have mentioned well-being as one of the outcomes of greenness and so on. And if we are going to do sustainability and worry about carbon footprints, do we have a tunnel vision on saving the planet while not worrying about happiness and other impacts on ourselves, which may affect, in fact, our academic performance? So it's an interesting topic. Bit difficult in terms of the methodology, so you may want to read if I'm not being detailed enough. Universities are environments of significant influence in people's lives, where students are trained for training and become the future leaders of society. So they themselves become teachers and leaders and implementers, designers, policy, etc. In this sense, this work develops a way of evaluating the sustainability of university students, comparing them in different courses. The sustainability assessment is based on the input, state, output framework for systems using three different indicators: the ecological footprint, happiness, and academic performance. The ecological footprint is measured by the consumption of meat, fish, vegetables, fruits, milk and dairy products, paper, electricity, mobility, and built area. Happiness has its own questionnaire drawn from the others already consolidated by the literature, such as the Gallup World Poll, Gross National Happiness Index Survey, Happiness Alliance, and Santa Monica Wellbeing Survey. So it's obviously subjective, but also it's known that it depends on the way questions are asked, because every year there is the happiest country kind of survey where Denmark comes up on top, but then people have done research to show that it's because the way the questions are asked and not necessarily because others are unhappy or less happy. Academic performance, of course, is easier, assessed by average grade of the students. The three indicators are represented in a cube, graphically presenting the result of the sustainability assessment. Within the cube are presented 8 ways of expressing students' sustainability, characterizing their course. This tool can facilitate decision making by university managers. So university can track its overall sustainability, which includes happiness and student academic performance, instead of just having a tunnel vision on ecological footprint and carbon emissions and so on. Two measures are required for calculation of ecological footprint and biocapacity, both expressed in global hectares of land or water standardized to have average world production of all organic productive land and water in a given period. Ecological footprint as a demand that humans place on productive areas, and biocapacity, the availability of nature to provide ecosystem sources and services that are consumed annually by humans. So obviously we are in the context of the planet's ecological footprint as a species we enforce, and the academia sits in it, so we have to place ourselves in that context. And happiness, the concept of happiness is used in a variety of ways, which can mean general positive humor, an overall assessment of life satisfaction, living a good life, or the causes that make people happy. Some concepts that can be related in the literature are well-being, quality of life, flowering, and contentment. Flowering in the sense how well you grow up to your capacity. So areas of biocapacity and their ideal use, then you think of forests for providing wood products and other non-wood products. Carbon, an area that we so the forest area that we should reserve for the absorption of CO2 that is released in excess in terms of biocapacity maintenance or tracking. crops, area of agricultural land that needed to meet the food needs of the population, and grazing, area needed to raise cattle under certain conditions, infrastructure, required area for building construction, and fish, area for fishing as a form of food need. Obviously it's a bit idealized, but for this case it's okay. And the input state output model is fairly straightforward, so you look at ecological footprint as an input to the state of happiness, and then you look at the impact on the output in terms of academic performance or average grade, and how students map their happiness in different courses. So I won't read too much, but just to give you a sense, for sustainability assessment it's important to consider the life of the system, the essential physical inputs from the environment, the current state capacity properties, and the results that can be generated. An evaluation framework that has this systemic characterization where the components interact is the input state output model. This model can be used to describe ecosystems in a socio-ecological context. For this work, the input state output model is used to evaluate student sustainability, represented in figure 1, which we'll look at. For each component of the model, an indicator related to the system is assigned. The input was considered the ecological footprint, the happiness state, and the output is the academic performance with the average grade of the students in the course. Okay, so I think I skipped figure 1, but it doesn't matter. So here is the way happiness index is defined. Happiness index is 1 minus A times N. Don't worry about the details. A is the intensity of the still not happy. It's the fraction of the average dissatisfaction for each person not yet happy. And N is the intensity of the people not yet happy. So still not happy, not yet happy. Okay. A fraction of the variables still not met by the total existing variables, considering only people not happy. So here it's each person not yet happy and only people not yet happy. I don't know, you can go and read the details. As I said, it's a bit of a funny thing. So the ecological footprint is calculated on planets, with biocapacity being one planet. In this case, the goal for the students is to have an indicator of ecological footprint up to one planet. Happiness index should be higher than 0.78, considering the happy group. And academic performance has an indicator goal that is greater than 0.75, that is a fraction of students' scores greater than 7 by the number of students should exceed this expectation. Anyway, my main point would be that when we focus on sustainability, other aspects of the purpose of academia, which is teaching and training students to go out and become leaders, should be kept in mind, in the sense of what is the best environment for them to learning and do well in their in their courses. So here, results, indicators, ecological footprint, so number of planets, happiness, and performance for the courses. So these are the courses: administration, happiness, and academic performance. Classification is ineffective. We'll look at the cube diagram in a minute. Logistics, sustainable based on these scores. Thresholds are set. Accounting, unfocused. Environment, unfocused. Informatics, unfocused. Agricultural, ineffective. General, ineffective. The overall score is ineffective. Okay, so here is how the cube looks. Scenarios A, B, C, and D, without going into details. Graphic representation, inputs, ecological footprint, happiness, and academic performance are green. Classification is individualist, focused, quasi-artificial, and sustainable. So you can see here on this phase diagram of happiness, ecological footprint, and academic performance, you are here in this corner with good academic performance, low ecological footprint, and happiness is high in this axis. So you want to be here for an individualist performance, let's say. In B, you have here ecological footprint at its maximum. Academic performance, so ecological footprint is red here, so that's not good. Happiness, so you have yellow overall, so this is focused, and this is quasi-artificial, and this is sustainable. So you want to be actually not in this corner, but in this corner with maximum happiness, minimum ecological footprint, and maximum academic performance. Okay, so this paper proposes an input state output model to evaluate the sustainability of students in different courses. The indicators that represented the model were the ecological footprint, happiness, and average grade of the student in the course. In addition, this work offers a questionnaire for the evaluated system, where the most appropriate questionnaires for this evaluation were not evidenced in the literature. There are some limitations they point out in the way it is done, but future research may evaluate students of different characteristics, make decisions about specific courses, or even the institution as a whole. The student is placed in a context depending on the breadth of the evaluation. It's possible to classify the student's sustainability through the evaluated system. So you are worrying about the campus sustainability, but when you include student happiness and academic performance, you also want to be sustainable for the student himself or herself. So it's kind of a curious way to think about. So I'm going to stop it there. It's an interesting chapter. You should definitely go and read more if you're interested in the details, but I included just to again emphasize the point that especially for the global south, the goals of mitigation, global warming targets are being sold as very important, and there is a lot of noise this year about how 2023 may have crossed the 1.5 degree threshold, and yet that's not really always the most important thing, because pattern of warming is important and various other issues of just survival and adaptation are important. So even in sustainability, we want to avoid tunnel visions on sustaining everything and not worrying about the happiness of the students and academic performance of the students. There's some noise in the background which I hope is not too bad, so let me stop here.